Aftershock Nunu is currently sitting at over a 54% win rate in all elos. This champion has really strong early ganks, incredible objective control, and great late game scaling. Today I'm going to be showing you everything you need to know to get started playing Nunu and Willump. This will include abilities and tips and tricks, runes, build, first clear, and early pathing. Just so you know a little bit about me, I'm Doubtful, a challenger streamer / content creator, and I've been playing Nunu since his rework in Season 8. He's absolutely one of my favorite champions, and I hope that this guide helps more people see how much fun he really is. Alright guys, let's go ahead and get started with Nunu's passive. Now, Nunu's passive, whenever you hit a large minion or neutral monster, turret, or enemy champion, it triggers your passive, which gives you attack speed and movement speed, and then it also makes your attacks hit in like an AoE cleave, almost like Tiamat. So you see here, when I hit this, I proc it, and I start to hit these side minions here. Now, the main purpose of that is to help you clear your camps faster, but there is another purpose that's pretty useful here, and that is when you hit an enemy champion with an ability, it can help you get away from them. So watch this. I've got 345 movement speed here. Say this was like an enemy jungler or whatever, and I'm trying to get away from him. I can throw out my E, which is a snowball, and you can see my movement speed goes all the way up to 380, and it really helps you be very difficult to stick to. It helps you get away quite easily. Alright guys, Nunu's Q is pretty simple. It deals true damage to minions and monsters, and against enemy players it deals magic damage, and it also heals you for a little bit less. One important thing to note is that your Q will heal you for 50% more when you're below 50% HP. This comes in handy when you're doing when you're clearing your jungle. You usually might want to wait an extra second to drop below 50% health to use your Q, or when you're even doing dragon, and then sometimes in a fight it'll be smart to wait that extra bit until you're below 50%. And if you'll notice here, when I'm below 50%, your Q will actually start, this line will go around it to let you know that you've gone below 50%. So that's how you know that you're in range to do that. Now see, I'm above 50% and it's gone, and then when I go below, it's there. Alright guys, the only other thing you really need to know about Nunu's Q is that when you're fighting objectives, neutral objectives, you're going for the Baron Smite or the Dragon Smite, you can actually stack your Q and your Smite on top of each other. You might want to practice this. Sometimes I'm better than other times, but if you do it perfectly, it'll end up saying 1980 here. Just like that. Alright. We got it 2 times in a row there, I'll take that. But yeah, it's a little bit hard to do perfectly every time, but you should be able to get it, if not directly stacked on top of each other, certainly very, very close. Yep, that's it for Nunu's Q. Alright guys, Nunu's W is biggest snowball ever, and what you do is you press W and you roll a snowball. The main ways you'll be using this are to clear camps and to do ganks. So when you're clearing a camp, it'll look something like this, and you'll want to get this up to 5 seconds because then it deals the maximum damage, and that is what that looks like. Now you might want to practice this a few times because the W can be kind of awkward the first time you use it. And the other way that you'll be using your W is, again, like I already said, for ganks. So what you'll do is you'll stand in the river and you'll come into the lane, and you'll come out hopefully at about 5 seconds when you've reached your max speed and max damage. And we're going about 470. That's our movement speed right now, 470. Now I want to show you a trick here. Usually what I end up doing, I mean, we'll talk about this later, but I'll do like a full clear and then I'll look for a gank. And what you want to do is try to get a Scuttle Shrine, and when you're standing on top of Scuttle Shrine and you start your W, you keep the movement speed bonus from the Scuttle Shrine. And so instead of coming into lane at 470 movement speed, I come in at 570, and it makes it a lot harder for the enemy champion to dodge your snowball. It makes it almost impossible if they don't have a dash or something like that. Alright guys, the only other thing that I want to talk about with Nunu's W here, sort of along the same lines as the Scuttle Shrine bonus, is this home guard bonus that you get after 20 minutes. This comes into play mostly during Baron sieges when the enemy team has Baron, but you can actually W from base and you roll out. Instead of the 570 movement speed we had before, now we have 820 movement speed. And this is very close to undodgeable for the enemy team. And it's almost sort of like rolling out of the map with a Malphite ult. You just can knock up whoever you want to get. It's very difficult to dodge or even react to, and it works almost every time. Nunu is a fantastic Baron defender. So that's probably the last thing about Nunu's W that I want to talk about. So we can go ahead and get started on his E now. Nunu's E is Snowball Barrage. What happens is you throw out 3 snowballs and you can cast this 2 more times for a total of 9 snowballs. And then at the end of that, anybody who was hit by a snowball and is in that sort of circle that you saw gets rooted. And you'll see it happen right here. You're going to be using this during ganks, obviously, and also pretty much on cooldown in the jungle when you're clearing. Now, sometimes you might want to save it. If, say, you're going for an invade, you think you're in maybe a dangerous spot, you'll want to save it so you can use it to disengage from the enemy jungler, sort of like I saw you that trick earlier. And that's pretty much it for Nunu's E. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into his R here. Now his R is fairly simple. All that you'll see here is it's called Absolute Zero. You'll create this big circle around you, and it deals more and more damage the longer you charge it up for. And it also slows them from starting at 50% all the way up to 95% over the duration. Now, the shield also gives you HP based on your total HP, which is why you scale so well with HP. Your Q also scales with HP, by the way. The damage and the heal. So this is pretty much just always going to be used in team fights. Every once in a while, I'll tap it to get a little bit of extra health. Say like I'm about to die to a turret shot or something like that. It can kind of come in handy for that. But mostly you'll be using it in sort of team fights. The best way or ganks, the best way to use it is sort of in combination with your E. So say you do your whole combo, you W them, you Q them, and then you're Eing them, chasing them, and then you'll start to cast your R so that they get rooted and they're stuck inside the duration, so they get hit by the full duration of your R. Something like that is what it's sort of supposed to look like. I know people are probably going to ask like how to best use your R in team fights, but honestly, I don't know that there's like team fights are really complicated. I don't know that there's like one single best way to use it, but generally speaking, in team fights, I'm using all my abilities. Then I'm casting R. I'm trying to be in a good position. The only other thing you want to keep an eye out for is your R can obviously get interrupted by enemy CC, so you want to try to save it until after their CC has already been used, if possible. That's pretty much it for Nunu's abilities. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started on Nunu's runes. Okay, let's go ahead and get started on Nunu's runes here. Let's hop on over here. Now, there's pretty much 2 keystones you can take on Nunu. That would be Aftershock and Predator. I'm not going to recommend that anybody takes Predator, so I'm not going to talk about that at all today. Aftershock is really the rune that I think everybody should be running. It's definitely the better rune, generally speaking, and it's what we're going to be talking about today. So the sub runes, there's nothing really interesting going on here. You're always going to be taking Font of Life, Conditioning, and Revitalize, so we're not going to talk about that. But what is really, really interesting is the side runes. Now, you actually have a lot of options here for your secondary tree. One of the ones you'll see a lot of pro players or really experienced Nunus, they'll run Triumph plus Legend Tenacity. This is a really solid rune choice. Triumph's really good on tanks because you get a lot of value out of the plus 12% HP. And then Legend Tenacity is really nice on a champion like Nunu. You're going to be frontlining, you're going to be eating a lot of CC up, so having the Tenacity is really nice. I take this tree a lot when I want to build Ninja Tabai, but they also have a lot of CC. That's usually when I see myself taking this tree, but it's pretty much always going to be a pretty solid choice. Now, the second option you have that I end up taking whenever I can, it's a little bit greedy, I feel like, but it's really nice to have, and that's Celerity plus Water Walking. Now, Water Walking also gives you, it boosts your W speed because you keep the Water Walking bonus even when you go on land, because you can't be slowed down when you have your W up. So that's really, really nice to have on Nunu, and it also helps you just moving around, invading, stuff like that. And Celerity obviously enhances all of that, all of the above there, Water Walking, your W boost, just everything. So Celerity, these are really, really nice to have. I generally find myself taking this whenever I want to gank a lot. Maybe they have like an immobile carry that I feel like I'm going to be ganking a lot. I'll take this one a lot, and this makes the ganks a lot more likely to work because it really does increase your movement speed a lot. I'm not sure exactly the number of how much it increases it, but it certainly increases it a lot. And then the third option here is one that I used to run a lot a long time ago. I don't really run it these days, but that's going to be Cheap Shot plus Ravenous Hunter. Now, Cheap Shot deals true damage whenever you impair movement of an enemy champion, which obviously you do a lot on Nunu. Does it say the cooldown on here? I don't. The cooldown isn't that long, so you end up getting a lot of free damage here, which can be nice. And then Ravenous Hunter heals you for a percentage of the damage dealt by your abilities. This is really, really, really nice on Nunu specifically because when you queue when you queue neutral objectives, camps, whatever, it deals true damage. And so it's not reduced by enemy resistances or anything like that, and you just get the full heal. So like when you have your maxed out Q and it's dealing 980 true damage, it's gonna end up healing for I don't actually know how much this is. This is like I think when you have the full stacks of Ravenous Hunter, it's like 14% lifesteal or something like that. They nerfed it recently, I don't know. But it ends up healing you for like 140 extra health. Plus, if you're below 50% HP, that gets bumped up to like 220. And then there's also the other healing modifiers you can have. So it ends up healing you for a lot over the course of a game. And so this is also a really strong page. I don't really know when the best time to take this page is. Honestly, I don't really take it anymore, but I do still think it's a very strong page. It has sort of the same win rate as these other two secondary pages do as well. So this is just another option that you can take. And yep, that's pretty much it for the runes. Let's go ahead now and hop into the build. Alright guys, now onto the build. There's pretty much two different ways you can go with the build, and that's going to be a supportive build like this, or sort of a hyper tank build like this. There are a few other options, but we're just going to be talking about this for this video. Now, when deciding which build you're going to go, it really depends on team comps. If the enemy team has like a bunch of divers and I have carries that can't really defend themselves, I'll usually be taking this route of the build. You want to go Knight's Vow, gives you HP and CDR, which is really nice. And then Locket gives you a bunch of MR and armor, and gives you that shield for your carries. And then I usually take Warmonks to sort of supplement the lack of HP that's in these two items. And you can move these around however you want. Well, probably not Warmonks first, but something like this, whatever you want to do here, that works. So that's pretty much it for the supportive build. You also obviously always go Cinderhulk. I go blue Cinderhulk every single game. It helps you land your E's, get in position to land your E's on Nunu, and I just think it's the best smite, generally speaking. Though you will see some people take red, I always take blue personally. Now, the sort of hyper tank build usually involves building one of these two first. I pretty much always build Deadman's first, but obviously if they're heavy AP, you'd probably want to look at going for like a Spirit Visage or something like that. Which gives you a lot of value because of the healing increased and whatnot. But Deadman's is very, very nice on Nunu because it gives you that movement speed. And movement speed is just amazing on Nunu, and it helps you land those W's, which is really good for ganking and just looking for picks on your W. A lot of times you'll be sort of fishing, like throwing out W's, looking for picks. And Deadman's Plate helps a lot with that. It also gives that slow on auto and a little bit of extra damage, which is nice too. And then here's Warmogs again. This is just a really great item on Nunu because of how well you scale with HP. Getting that 800 HP plus again the 10% CDR is just really, really nice. That's pretty much it for Nunu. Boots wise, you're pretty much always, you want to go Merc Treads a lot. But if they have a bunch of AD, then obviously you're going to go Ninja Tabi. And then one other item that I guess I'll talk about is Hextech Protobelt. You'll see some people build this. It gives you a little bit of extra damage. Like the stats that it gives you are nice. 300 health is great. 10% CDR is great. Nunu scales all right with AP. You don't really want to be getting it, but you do scale relatively well with it. It's just not maybe as efficient as other as resistances for what your kit's trying to do. But this is a fairly cheap item, and you will see some Nunus get this after their Blue Smite Cinderhulk. It can help you land your E's again and give you that little bit of extra damage, which might help you one-shot the enemy carries when you otherwise would have been like a little bit short of doing that. So that is another option there. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the items. Alright, Nunu's first clear in early pathing. Now, what you want to do, you're always going to start with Talisman plus Refillable and Q Consume for the first ability. Lately, I've always started on my red, so that's what I'm going to be showing you guys here today. I really like this path because Raptors are right here, and this is a really easy camp for Nunu to do. Not so much level 2, but it's a lot easier later on too. Yeah, so this is gonna be a little bit awkward because Nunu really cannot do a clear without a leash. His first camp is very, very slow and weak, so you really need that leash. So this is gonna be a little bit slow here, but we'll just go ahead and show you it anyways. I usually wait till the camp hits me one time before using my Q, so that way I don't waste the heal from my Q. Not that important, because again, you heal more when you're below 50% HP. But I never smite the first camp. So this is going to take a while here. But once we kill it, I always pull red this way so I have time for my W to charge over here. Again, we want our W to hit 5 seconds. So I cast my W as soon as that dies, and I roll this in a way that it hits all the little raptors if I can. And then I want to hit that once, walk over to the other side, and then hit each of these ones. You kind of have to be quick because you want... you don't want your passive to run out. But yeah, if you do that correctly, you kill all those little raptors in one hit there. And yeah, it's a very, very fast camp for Nunu. Then we're going to roll over here, and we're actually going to do our wolves. We'll queue this one immediately, and I'm only going to hit the big wolf from here on out. Our passive will eventually refresh on this camp here, and we'll kill the small ones like this. Now, because we did wolves there, we didn't actually hit level 3 after 3 camps, but still, I found that that's the best way to do it. So we are just going to work on this now. And I'm slowly going to pull this way because usually I end up doing Gromp here afterwards. And I'm going to go ahead and smite that. And we didn't get the full 5 seconds on that, but that's okay. And we're just going to start using our E and our Q, just all of our abilities on cooldown here. And honestly, do I want to smite this? This is a little bit weird because I didn't get a leash. I guess I'll go ahead and smite this, honestly. It's not that big of a deal. So it's 3:15 now, and we're going to go for this Gromp that will be somewhere over here. Usually, if you get here at 3:15, you'll be here before the enemy jungler. Something important to note is that you don't want to use your Q until after you CC this thing and you break its shield, because your Q actually does more true damage after you've broken the shield, which doesn't really make much sense to me, but that is how it works. So you want to make sure you do that, and you kind of have to do it like right after you break the shield, because after a while it does reduce true damage again. So I don't know what that's about, but that's pretty much it for the clear. Now, after you do this Scuttle Shrine, what you want to end up doing here is looking for a gank, either in the mid or the top, or if you started on this side of the map, the bot or the mid here. Again, I talked about this earlier in the video. The Scuttle Shrine makes your ganks really, really hard to dodge. And you can just sit on the tip of it here, if I'm going to go bot, and do this. And you can see, okay, I don't have the right runes, but yeah, we still run into here with 557 movement speed, which is a pretty hard gank for anyone to stop. And yeah, from there you have a couple different options. You could reset and head over to your Krugs, do this again, do that again. The one big thing I want to note is as Nunu, you really want to put a lot of emphasis on objective control, and that means sort of trying to do dragon as soon as possible. If you can get here sort of when it spawns, that would be great. Obviously, you got to keep into mind like where the enemy jungler is and whatnot. And one thing that I try to do is I try to always be level 5 when I do this this dragon, because again, then your Q does more damage. It has a lower cooldown. You heal more. It's just a lot more doable at level 5 than it is at level 4. At level 4, this thing would mess me up pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for Nunu. That's the path, that's the route, that's everything. So yeah, I hope you guys found this guide super helpful. I had a lot of fun making it, and yeah, I hope to see some more Nunus out there. Actually, not really. This champ is super not fun to play against, if I'm being entirely honest. He's just so strong and can be very, very overwhelming and suffocating to jungle against. But hopefully we won't play against each other, and you'll play him and you'll have a lot of fun and you'll climb a lot. Again, if you like this kind of stuff, give me a like, subscribe. I'm going to be posting more. Check me out on Twitch. I stream Nunu, so if you're looking for sort of live games to figure out what you're going to be doing, yeah, that's about it. That's it for me, guys. Thank you all for watching, and have a good one. Peace.